Indonesia has 350 million Muslims living in the country. How do we change their textbooks? How do we hold the people in Gaza accountable that if America is paying for UN textbooks and supposedly the changes are made, why are those textbooks not being used and why are they using their old textbooks? We have to teach people it's not okay to educate your kids to be a martyr, okay? And we have to hold those countries accountable. How do we battle anti-Semitism on the internet? How are we doing better on algorithms? What companies can we work with? We are going to have a whole division within the office of the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism that is going to work on technology and working with the greatest leaders in technology, many of whom are Jewish and have offered their assistance.
The office is great. So they're going to... He starts off with changing the textbooks.
All right, guys. Today we're looking at a Fleccas clip, and they're getting into the ongoing drama involving Candace Owens, Erica Kirk, Barry Weiss, and a whole lot of fallout surrounding criticism of a certain chosen people. And what starts off as online controversy pretty quickly turns into something bigger, because buried in this conversation is some pretty wild policy talk about changing textbooks overseas, pressuring Gaza, and coordinating with tech companies to quietly adjust algorithms. These guys are really cooking here, so let's walk through it.
All right, let's get to our censorship section.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have noticed that censorship is on the rise. We're seeing it online with the Zionist movement now is trying to combat anti-Semitism. We obviously saw it during COVID. Even during Charlie Kirk stuff, there were some calls, and we're going to get to it. But first, let's start off with the Erica Kirk tweet. Candace and Erica met yesterday in a private conversation.
Yeah, Candace and I are meeting for a private in-person discussion on Monday, December 15th. Real Candace O and I have agreed that public discussions, live streams, and tweets are on hold until after this meeting. I look forward to a productive conversation. Thank you.
So that'll be good. If they were to meet live,
yeah,
that's like the Super Bowl for the right wing. That would be the #1 stream ever.
Yeah.
That would go crazy.
It would. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
We'll kind of get to it, but I don't know. There's a thing where, like, Erica is a grieving widow.
Yeah.
So you can't criticize her.
There's a halo of protection around her.
But then she's also in public every 2 seconds doing, like, a book tour and AmFest and all these events and public appearances and news hits. And you kind of don't get the protection anymore.
Raised a lot of money, all this stuff. So, like, you kind of open yourself up.
You're opening yourself up, and you should. And then, it's in poor taste to attack a widow, but you're like a public figure now. If you want to be a widow grieving in private, grieve in private.
Okay.
That's kind of where I see it, but I'm not mad at anybody. Okay. We're going to start off with the censorship aspect of this whole thing. Barry Weiss did an interview with Erica Kirk over the weekend. And here's a clip from that segment, and I want to make some points after.
He was murdered 3 months ago. If you go on the internet, and frankly, it is leapt beyond the internet now into real life, and you talk to many seemingly sane people, they do not believe that the 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson that has been arrested and charged with his murder is the actual murderer.
Who did they think? Yeah.
They believe any number of theories. They believe that Erica Kirk was his Mossad handler and that he was killed by a foreign government. They believed that she was tracked by Egyptian planes. They believe that the rings on her hand are signs of Illuminati. The theories themselves are absurd. What matters is that, because she speaks about this in the interview, the brain rot that social media is allowing to spread, the way that it is detaching us from humanity, from our ability to talk to one another and our ability to discern the truth from just out and out lies, is something that is incredibly important as a theme, I think.
That's what's
so it's interesting how
he's talking about you. He's talking about you.
Because of all these lies and because of all these theories spreading, she's alluding to this idea that social medias have this obligation to correct the record or censor these fake truths or the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not good. And keep in mind, I'm pretty sure Barry Weiss left the New York Times because, in her own words, she felt censored. That was like part of it.
Okay.
And then like this idea now that we need to like save democracy and humanity by like allowing certain things online and not allowing others. So this is the bigger picture point I wanted to make. If they do bring in censorship, it'll have to be through the right wing, because the left will do it, but the right will oppose that, like we've seen in the past. But if there was a way to bring it in through the right, and we kind of almost saw this trend when Charlie was assassinated, the day of and the day after, there were some right-wing accounts that were posting like, there should be permanent social media bans for anyone belittling or celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, what?
Wait a second. Yeah.
I might not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death your right to say it. Like,
posting the video itself, too, a lot of people, which, you know, you can get that off later. But, yeah, there was a little bit of an overreach there.
There really was. And, like, people kind of got emotional.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, everyone's being mean and making fun of Charlie Kirk now that he's dead. You should be banned from social media. And like, you can't forget your morals. You can't forget your rules, right? You can't just throw it out because you disagree with what they're saying or it's in poor taste.
Yeah, and it's like, are we going to waste a good crisis here? Everyone's emotionally ramped up.
Yeah.
Let's shoehorn this in from the right. Yeah. That's kind of the energy.
So
I get what you're saying.
That's how it would work from the right. And, you know, conspiracies aren't allowed. So what? You're going to figure out what the truth is when Barry Weiss tells you?
Yeah, that's the thing. And she goes Mossad first. She really doesn't like the Mossad theory. And I get it. You know, everybody's self-interested. Everybody's going to go towards their own biases. I'm not really schizophrenic-minded about it, but I think the schizos should have fun and share their theories.
Be allowed to say whatever you want.
As long as it's not, like, illegal or you're not really brutally slandering someone.
Yeah, that's how I see it, too.
You know.
And keep in mind, we have a Charlie Kirk quote here. You better keep asking questions because it's the only thing that will keep us free.
Yeah.
Ironic, but true. And then another quote, truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like being challenged.
Yeah.
Some fortune cookie shit for you on this Tuesday.
And then Barry Weiss trying to insert herself into, like, our sphere, you know? Erica Kirk goes to Barry Weiss to have her say, don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It does not feel natural to me. Not one of our guys, you know what I mean?
It doesn't feel natural to me either. And then when it comes to the specific conspiracies that were addressed, Erica Kirk was asked about the Egyptian plane theory, and she kind of weirdly strawmanned it and said, oh, I've never been on an Egyptian plane in my life. I don't know what she's talking about. But that was never the claim that she was on the planes. The claim was that the planes were following her around, and even Tucker came out and said that that was true, that these planes do follow her flight patterns. So it was weird, but you can't be critical of a grieving widow, but also if you're going to come out in public on a news hit and discredit one of the theories, someone's going to come back and say, oh, that's actually not the theory. And
for sure.
It opens you up to some more criticism. And keep in mind, before we move on to the Zionist censorship, we're allowed to make conspiracies and explore them and deep dive into them. That's what we did during COVID, and they censored the conspiracy theorists, and then those conspiracy theorists ended up being right. So there is a track record of censoring the truth.
Yeah, totally.
That appears to be not the truth at the time or an unfortunate truth. There is censorship of that. That's what we sued Google for with Trump. It was because they deleted my COVID videos that all ended up being true.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's step slightly outside the censorship conversation for a second, because there's a parallel here that Fleccas actually pointed out a while back. Before Trump was even elected, Fleccas made an observation about surveillance, and it stuck. During the pandemic, a lot of people on the right were strongly opposed to mass surveillance, tracking phones, monitoring movement, enforcement infrastructure. All of it was framed as dangerous and authoritarian. Fast forward a bit, and suddenly some of those very same people are open to large-scale surveillance again, as long as it's being used to fix a different problem. The structure didn't change, only the justification did. And that's the key point. The danger isn't the content of surveillance, it's the existence of the system itself. Once it's built, it doesn't care who it's pointed at. Fleccas went a step further and basically said one of the people most eager to run these systems were always going to push for them anyway, and the conflict was just a way to get a buy-in from both sides. Whenever one side gains power, it turns the machinery of the state against the other, and usually grants that machinery more authority than it had the day before. 4 years later, it often finds itself on the receiving end of the very enforcement structure it once demanded. So the sides may change, but the noose binding them both only tightens. One side demands the system for safety during the pandemic. The other demands it for enforcement on the border. And somewhere in the middle, the infrastructure quietly becomes permanent. That's not left versus right. That's a loop closing. And it begs the question, the hidden hand that tightens the noose, to whom does that hand belong?
So we can't, with the track record of the censorers, we can't just say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll censor these conspiracy theories, because no one really knows what's what right now.
Yeah, censorship, just for the sake of censorship. It's like, let them talk. It's not going to be on Fox. It's not going to be on your networks.
And if it's retarded, all right, this guy's a retard.
Yeah, swung and a miss.
Or if it's not true, oh, it's not true because of this. And then everyone goes, okay, this theory isn't true. Let's move on to the next one. But if you say, oh, you can't have theories, that makes the theories even more true, whether they're true or not.
Yeah.
And
Chinese finger trap.
It's a Chinese finger trap.
Like many things in life in this world.
And obviously, when it comes to the censorship, we're seeing a lot of it comes in the form of anti-Semitism. There's a big push to censor anti-Semites, especially following the Muslim terrorist attacks, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
We have a quote here. Maybe you can read the tweet, and then we'll show the video.
Breaking Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, Trump's Israeli-born nominee for the U.S. anti-Semitism czar, says he plans to work with social media platforms on their algorithms to suppress what he calls hatred and use AI to label misinformation.
Hopefully that doesn't get abused.
That sounds like what we did. You know, and when you say censorship is on the rise, we have gone through censorship and back down to freedom again recently.
Yeah.
And now it seems like they want to get back to where we were before. I mean, 2016, 2020, during Trump's first term, started with fact checkers. You saw so many people get banned.
The fact checks have kind of died down.
They basically quit on fact checking. And so now it's algorithm and behind the scenes and suppressing, I think.
And that
is the next move.
That's going to be more dangerous because you're not going to have a fact check thing. Because during COVID, there'd be a fact check and it'd be like, oh, COVID's actually good for you.
Yeah, mostly false. They were some of the dumbest things ever. You actually caught them and it humiliated them more, right?
But it was like a rite of passage. And when you saw it, you go, oh, this is probably true because it got fact checked. If these censorship techniques are used behind the scenes and now you're not even seeing certain content, that's like the ultimate censorship. It's like censorship by withholding, and you don't even know what you're missing as a consumer.
And I think the people who want to do censorship have gotten smarter and learned that the first way didn't work. And if they get power again to censor, it'll be more nefarious like that.
Exactly.
It'll be algorithm. It'll be shit you can't even formulate.
Yeah, because when you showed us the censorship with the fact checks, people can go, oh, I'm going to watch it anyway, or I'm going to watch it even harder now.
Yeah.
If you don't show us it at all because of the algorithm and AI, now we're in precarious waters.
And Twitter is a good battleground for them. They really care about Twitter.
They really want Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play the clip from Rabbi Kaplan. This is what he was saying that was summarized in that tweet.
It's about education. And how do we educate? Indonesia has 350 million Muslims living in the country. How do we change their textbooks? How do we hold the people in Gaza accountable that if America is paying for UN textbooks and supposedly the changes are made, why are those textbooks not being used and why are they using their old textbooks? We have to teach people it's not okay to educate your kids to be a martyr. Okay? And we have to hold those countries accountable. How do we battle anti-Semitism on the internet? How are we doing better on algorithms? What companies can we work with? We are going to have a whole division within the office of the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism that is going to work on technology and working with the greatest leaders in technology, many of whom are Jewish and have offered their assistance.
The office is great. So they're going to...
He starts off with changing the textbooks, and then we're going to come over the top and do work with all our Jewish tech guys. It's fucking crazy.
Sounds like he's got a plan.
Yeah.
And then we need to change the algos to combat hate. And like, what counts as hate? Any criticism of Jews or Israel.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to be fair with the definition of hate, right? You're going to go according to the Constitution, or are you going to go, No.
Doesn't look good to me.
I don't like the tone of I don't like the way you said that.
Exactly. Your inflection was all wrong.
You trying to get me?
Yeah, so, I mean, it feels like we made it through, and we did up, down, and they want to go back up. And anti-Semitism is a really huge excuse to do it.
And that does have a big pull in the right wing. The left
Totally.
wing, not as much, but the right wing, even in Florida where we live, you think it's a free state and everything's great. There's a lot of weird anti-Semitism censorship rules in the books.
Totally.
So hopefully no one comes knocking on our door.
Not home.
Who is it?
Not me.
Anti-Semitism censor police.
He left. He left.
Yeah, you don't live here for a while.
The pattern's pretty simple. Every major speech crackdown starts with good intentions and ends with a much broader scope than anyone signed out for. You don't have to agree with everything online to realize that open inquiry is essentially the pressure release valve that keeps the system honest. Once that valve gets tightened, things don't get calmer, they just get more unstable. When governments, media figures, and technology platforms start coordinating on what ideas get visibility, which ones quietly disappear, the argument really stops being about any single group or issue. It becomes instead about who gets to curate our reality, and that's worth paying attention to. If you found this breakdown useful, please hit the like, subscribe button for more long-form analysis, and let me know in the comments what you think about censorship. Until the next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.